For April the 17th, 2020, we talk about Half-Life Alyx, 9 Parchments, and we ask you which game characters you would kill off for good. Welcome to level 325. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Jala.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. I don't know if you can hear her in the background, but Greta is being real chatty right now. When normally she understands what it means when the microphone is down.
Daddy's recording.
Yep. But I still give her attention and say hello to her and scratch her. So this is still my fault. I can't.
It couldn't be her fault. She's perfect in every way.
That's no, she's not perfect. She's an animal. There are only a certain number of inputs and outputs into her behavior, and I am consciously or unconsciously making the choices that result in her wanting affection. So,
yeah,
you know,
Cole, I feel like you have a game like 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but 7 Degrees of how it's your fault for things. Completely irrational.
No, it's not the best trait because it belies a certain amount of self-centeredness. I don't care for it one bit, but it's also reflexive. So I don't know. Jala, that brewery distillery you went and visited. I got a bottle of that whiskey.
Yay!
Yeah. So yeah, Middle West Spirits. I got the straight wheat whiskey. And it's good.
Yeah.
Although it's better with an ice cube. Normally I try to drink it straight, but this is one that is better with an ice cube to me.
Yeah. Their bourbon is really good. I don't even like bourbon much because it's usually too sweet for me or something, but I really like that one quite a bit.
Nice.
That's how it starts.
Well, I also happen to like their vodka, and I don't like vodka. And I also like their gin, and I don't like gin. So, I mean, they surprise me with all the things that they have.
Nice.
So,
yeah, no, it's a little costlier than I usually do for a fifth, but I took your recommendation and I wanted some whiskey, so I drove across town to get it. I masked up and all that. But,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I do not believe it is disappointing you. I like it quite a bit. So, yeah.
Cool. That's how I'm doing. I've got nothing else really going on. There's just
that's cool.
It's I don't know. Jala, how are you?
I'm hanging in there. Doing my usual, just trying to. Since David's not here, I'm bobbing and weaving.
I was going to ask. I was wondering how long it was going to be until that popped up. Yeah.
So no, but yeah, just doing my usual training and whatever else, and trying not to throttle my father, who's driving me nuts. Because I'm fine on quarantine. I adapt pretty well, but my dad likes to putter around and go do stuff, and he is just finding all these reasons to go pick up stuff, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And he's just going off, and I gotta go to the grocery store again. You went 2 days ago. You don't need to go back to the grocery store. Stop it. So he's just going crazy because he's told that he cannot go places, and that makes him upset. So
I can respect that.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm sorry it's driving you crazy, but I understand where that comes from.
So far, no throttling has happened.
Good.
By the end of this episode, who knows?
Yeah.
Yes, this is true. Because he might very well accidentally, or without thinking about it, lock me out of the house, which happens when I'm in my office late, and then it will be 10 o'clock at night, and I will be trying to stick my arm through the doggy door or knock it on the window. Let me in.
The only thing I want in the world now is some fan art of Simpsons style, a Jala throttling her dad from the throttles bar.
Why, you little?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, for sure. So.
Yeah. How about you, Ben? What's going on?
Yeah, so I think my dad is finally staying at home, which is good.
That's
but
good.
Now we've gotten to the phase where he's giving me calls that are very long and a little bit boring.
Yeah.
he'll tell me about the webpage that he's visiting and what the problem is with it, and it's like, oh man, I just want to go back to Death Stranding.
Oh,
that's my current quarantine struggle.
Sounds like you're having trouble with Dad Stranding.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Oh, well, well, that's just very funny.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That your dad talks to you? Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Does he think you can fix the websites, or?
I don't know. The other thing is there's just like long periods of silence, and it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go because I'm gonna do something else. He's like, no, just wait a second. I've always got this thing done. It's just like, oh,
it's like being on the it's like being on the phone with Chris. He does that too.
Oh really?
No.
Yeah.
I've never understood the personality type that is comfortable doing that to someone else.
I don't know.
Or the best one is when they call you and then immediately strike up a conversation with someone else on their side of the line.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it's like to talk on the phone with my mom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, today it was like I got woken up from my attempt at a nap before the podcast by my dad, who was trying to install an app on his phone, and he was on the phone with somebody from, I guess, some IT from somewhere who could not explain to him how to use his phone to turn it on speakerphone, let alone to get the app installed. And so he woke me up like not even knocking, just like opened the door and was just like, can you put this on the phone? There's a lady on the phone, talk to her. And I'm like, what in the hell? Like, I was asleep. What is this? So
you don't wake me up by screaming unless the house is on fire. And even then, think about it for like a second.
Right. Oh man. So that was a story.
Oh jeez. How about you, Dennis? What's going on?
Are you being a bad father, Dennis?
No, I'm crushing it.
Good.
If I don't mind bragging on myself, so I've been playing with the kids in the backyard a lot. And we got a trampoline back there, and so most of the games consist of me throwing something into the trampoline and then them throwing it out like over the net, and it transforms into this giant battle in their mind. And it's always there's some different superhero or hero in general. I'm always some different bad guy. And so I was like, all right, I think I've had my finger hovering over the buy button of no thank you evil for a long time. And this is an RPG system, tabletop RPG system specifically aimed at kids.
Oh, cool.
And so I bought that. The physical game is still on the way, but the PDF, version was available right away.
Yeah.
And we spent today, I'm going to upload a picture into the Slack, creating characters.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's what this picture is. It looks like a worksheet.
The character sheets look like Bob Evans playmats. It's adorable.
That is.
And so, but it's ultra simple. And like the system is, you're always rolling one die and trying to hit one number. There's not math in it, or not, addition to your rolls. It's just either you got it or not. So you can know above and below, which is perfect for them.
Yeah.
And then you can layer complexity on top of that, but a fully non-complex character can play right alongside a fully complex character, and the system works. So it's a really, really cool setup.
Yeah,
cool.
And especially they specifically design as they're just describing like classes and abilities. They're very explicit. Like, this is meant so that you can like match up whatever the hell your kid spouts to whatever in the book is close enough, and that's good.
That's
that
cool.
is how this works.
Yeah.
Which is how all tabletop RPGs work, I think, to some extent.
Oh yeah, but
well, it looks like this kiddo in the picture is a robot.
Correct.
That's what I'm reading.
So Milo is now playing Reeden the robot, Reeden.
Okay.
And then Luke is playing Power Cruncher, the superhero.
Power Crunch is great.
Yeah. So they had fun with that. We haven't actually played it yet. I think I want to get a little more, get the physical book here.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and they went right to it. And we're super excited. So that's what's been up with me.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cute.
I had no idea. I like that name, although I don't know, you don't get too far being polite to evil. Like, it's good for kids, but eventually they gotta learn.
And it's interesting. There's the mechanic. I mean, just like an X card, there's a mechanic built into the game saying like, okay, role playing scenarios, some kids might actually get scared. And so at any point you are allowed to say, no, thank you, evil. And then the GM, the onus is on the GM to pause the game and figure out how to make the situation less scary.
Oh,
it's like
okay.
a little trump card that you can put in their back pocket, just to handle those situations.
That is really cool. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I'll be interested to see how it works in practice, but there's so much in the theory of the system that it's like, yeah, the people who made this get the way kids' minds work, get the things that the kids are going to want to focus on, and it's all bent around that. So
I had no idea such a thing existed. Yeah.
I heard about No Thank You Evil. I think just Googling good RPG systems for kids. And then I saw it when I was at Gen Con and almost bought it for full price and skipped out because I was like, they're just a little too young. And then now, one, again, the kids were just basically, LARPing in the backyard like kids do. And then two, the game is 50% off.
Yeah.
So you for both the PDF and the physical version, you can get them half price right now. So pulled the trigger.
Yeah. No.
You could send me a link to that.
Yeah, I'll get it. It's Monty Cook Games.
Kiddos. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because my sis's kids are about the same age as your kids. So
yeah. Oh, you could have some fun with it. Jala, have you ever GM'd? I feel like you would be an amazing GM.
But it's been a very long time since I've done that. And plus, they're up in Pennsylvania. So, the time that we're visiting, I mean, I guess you could do it over, a video chat or something. But,
the kids would have to really want it for that to work.
Just being there with the kids, yeah.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, and it's only available on their actual, the Monty Cook Games store. The Amazon version is still full price.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
But yeah,
nice.
I'll let you guys know how it goes.
And the next time Twilight Imperium's on sale, you can just get them started on that.
That's the end goal.
Cool. So that sounds like some banter to me. I'm excited to get into into the show. If everybody agrees, we can do, the regular kind of thing with the brief, the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. Oh man, years and years of habit still resting in me. Why don't we
and now it's stuck in your head that it is possible to mess up. So the primary thing ticking as you're saying whatever, whether it's right or wrong, is this is probably wrong.
Yes, but that's generally how I exist anyway. But I think we should get started with the grind. The grind, where we talk about the things we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Jala, I will throw to you first. What have you been playing?
Lots of things. Okay, so I'm going to try to narrow it down to very specific things. So I've been doing a lot of co-op with Dave.
Cool.
That is how we are primarily spending time with each other. So that is, a lot of that. So we have co-opted some of Portal 2. We have co-opted some of Resident Evil 6. We finished all of Leon's campaign. I have zero to say about either one of those because I do those so often.
Right.
We also have been, he has been playing Kirby's Adventure, the NES game, on the Switch, and I have basically just been watching him because, there aren't very many Nintendo, co-op games that play well in there without lag. There's a really bad lag error, and so, that plus the slippery controls for stuff like Mario in there, it's just really, really too hard to play. But he's been going through bits of Kirby's Adventure for the NES. And interesting fact, I never played Kirby growing up. And so it totally missed me for whatever reason. And so going back and playing this now, I'm just like, Kirby is awesome and magical. And I love Kirby. He's super awesome. And so, this has led me to, investigate some other games that I will talk about next time. But anyway, so we have been doing a little bit of that. But, the thing about the Switch is that there's a lot of stuff you can co-op locally, not so much you can co-op online. And it's like, I don't understand why that is. They don't have very much online, co-op available. But one of the things that we have been able to co-op is 9 Parchments. Now, this is a co-op action RPG from the creators of Trine. And I talked about this game a while back. It was October 2018 when I was co-oping it with a listener.
Okay.
And we never did finish it, but I recently started it up again, like I said, with Dave, and we're over halfway through right now. Basically, this game takes place in the same world as Trine, and it starts with a set of apprentices at the Astral Academy where Amadeus the Wizard from Trine comes from. And the apprentices go off in search of 9 parchments that have arcane lore and spells on them that basically fell out of the Academy Tower after a spell blew up part of the wall, and they just got carried away on the wind.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about Trine in general is that it's very magical storybook and, kind of thing. And so it works with the feel of the game that's the setup, So anyway, there are 9 playable characters, including Amadeus from Trine, but you only start with one guy and you have to unlock all the other ones as you go. And I'm currently playing an old hard of hearing wizard called Marvek the Torrid, who's like the oldest apprentice. He's like white-haired, little old guy, who specializes in fire AoEs.
They prefer non-traditional apprentice.
Yeah. But then Dave is playing Gizlan of Alcyon, who plants poison wave flowers and uses healing spells and things like that. And this is just a little clip of how pretty this game is, because it is just as beautiful as Trine. So I posted some video clips onto my Twitter as usual. So anybody interested can take a look at my Twitter to see whatever I'm playing currently.
It looks like a console friendly version of Magicka to me.
I was about to say that there is also friendly fire, so it does play a bit chaotically like Magicka, but with less awkward input.
Yeah.
So it does kind of play like Magicka. Everybody's got their different spells, and as you progress through your spell tree, you get different abilities and things like that have different outputs. Like you might have 5 fire spells, but they all work in a different way. There might be a beam. One of them might be like a thrown thing that hits like an area of effect. One of them might be, like a giant flame that spouts outward in a cone or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's variety to all of that. But anyway, it does also share some DNA with Trine 3, which is more action-oriented than prior Trine games. So, that's, something that has been interesting to see as well, because they made 9 Parchments, I think, before they made Trine 3. But anyway, Dave and I have also been playing Trine 3, so I will shuffle on and talk about that unless anybody has particular questions about 9 Parchments. Okay.
I was curious about the combat, and is it just real time or?
It's real-time combat. It is an action RPG, so you have a bunch of guys pop up, and they all have different spell attributes. Like all of the enemies, they might be darkness or fire or ice or something. Some of them will have shields. Some of them jump and have like a wave effect. When they hit, some of them will shoot magic at you, teleport around, things like that. You have a quick teleport that you can do, but you can only do it a couple of times before it's on cooldown, and then you have to, wait for it to come back before you can do it again. So, say for example, if you are playing, very simple example, if you are fighting an ice enemy, you cannot use ice on the ice enemy. It doesn't do anything, but you can use fire, and that works very well. Other things will work to varying degrees of effectiveness, and very often you've got like a mixed group of enemies where there's different elemental attachments to each one of the enemies that you're fighting. And then if they are armored from the front, then you have to maneuver it to where somebody's playing bait and kiting and the other person's trying to go around the back to hit them from the back, or you're throwing something that has an area of effect that will hit it even though it's blocked from the front, that kind of a thing. So in that game, boy, we are a little bit over halfway, and I will say that the difficulty was fine wall Like, whoa, out of nowhere, it was like we were doing okay. There were just two of us and we were able to get through everything. And then like a little bit before halfway, bam, it was like, okay, suddenly we need all four people filled up in the party. And so we ended up picking randos, like just making it a public game and having randos pop in. And, then we also ended up having to bump the difficulty down because even with randos at some point, it just got too hard. And we're like,
there's lack of cooperation, probably, or coordination, rather.
Probably lack of coordination, but also low levels. Like, this game is meant to be played over and over again. And so some of the people who are in there and doing well have the characters that you have to unlock at the highest difficulty level. So like they've done a lot of this game and they have their character maxed out.
Yeah.
So and it gets challenging when you've got like a lot of things going on the screen, and there's always more enemies if there's more players. So if you have randos show up and they're useless, then you've got more enemies to fight and you have a useless party member. So that's a bit of a challenge. But anyway, so like we are probably closer to 2/3 of the way through it at this point.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'll probably take 2, maybe 3 more sessions before we get done with it. But like we put in several sessions. Like this hasn't been back to back. We're playing it every day or anything because there's only just so much of that kind of chaotic combat that either one of us is like prepared for at the end of a day. It's like, okay, I this is fun, but I don't want to play more than like an hour of it at a time.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
It's always fascinating to me, like this universe of games. There's such like a rich canon to it, and you can tell that the creators like really, really enjoy just world building and playing with the setting. And it's a relatively small series, and the number of people who are really going to appreciate it and get the most out of that level of loving detail is relatively small. But it's something you can tell they're doing for the joy of it.
Oh, and definitely. And when I was talking about Trine 2, when I was going through that, I was kind of talking about that love and care that I could see very obviously in how that they've treated, Trine 1 and Trine 2 before this. So it's kind of funny, though. Like I didn't at first when I picked up 9 Parchments, I didn't even realize it was by the same people. And then I loaded it up and I'm like, that sounds like the narrator from Trine. Hey, the Astral Academy. Wait a minute. And then and then everything started and the music started up and I'm like, this has got to be the people who did Trine. And it was like so unmistakable.
Yeah.
So about Trine 3, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that. So that's the one that it's the 3D Trine that it has the lowest reviews of all of the Trine games. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went into it anticipating that it would be, a rough experience. So I will say that it is a lot more entertaining than my impression was, originally from the reviews that I read, but it is glitchy as hell.
Usually their stuff is really, really tight. Like Trine 1 and 2 were...
Yeah, usually they are tighter than that, and like the physics don't get weird. But like in this one, it gets glitchy. And when I say glitchy, I mean specifically with the physics parts of it. It'll get a little bit glitchy. It hasn't gotten glitchy to the point where it stopped us from playing or from continuing or killed us or anything. But like it's been prevalent.
Yeah.
So. Also, depth perception and dizziness in some places have been a problem for Dave. Just because of like the way his vision is, because he's got one very strong eye and one very weak eye, and so like that is a specific thing for him too. But like there are parts where you are kind of like using Zoya's rope swing through a tunnel, but there's also rotating parts going around and stuff like that. And it's like, it's not all over the place, but there's certain areas where it happens. And it's just like, whoa, even for me, it's pretty disorienting, but, for Dave, I can imagine it being much worse. So,
I was going to ask how the thief's power. So I'm looking at the videos on Twitch. Like, how does the thief's power work? Like, how do you aim it in in that environment, because this is still kind of like 2.5D, like something like a Little Big Planet kind of thing, where I don't know. Tell me how all that works. Yeah.
So it kind of switches. It's sort of 2.5D, but it kind of switches to being fully 3D in some parts. It's weird like that, where it kind of goes back and forth. It's like what they call it is 2.8D. You know?
Okay. So, yeah, that sounds like them.
Yeah. So 2.8D. Okay. So, but with all of the powers for Amadeus and for Zoya, both of them have powers that they have to target stuff with. There is a button that you have to push that if you hold it down, it will show you what things you can highlight. And then you basically have to move the cursor over to whichever thing you're trying to hit with your thing. So like, or use your other thumbstick or whatever, depending upon if you're using a controller. So it's a little bit more awkward to me. Like it's not as intuitive of a control as the prior games, but it does tell you what all you can and cannot, do. So it's sort of simplified it, but at the same time, it kind of slowed it down and made it less fluid. Yeah. To do that. So
maybe it's just hearing about it versus seeing it in action, but it feels or sounds pretty hostile.
Yeah. So. I'll say a few more things about it, just to give you a little bit more of a sense of differences between like this one and Trine 2. So it's definitely more action oriented. It plays a lot faster, but it's also at the sacrifice of some abilities that you don't have from Trine 2. And also, as I've said about 9 Parchments, having played that, it's pretty easy to see the action oriented stuff coming from 9 Parchments and kind of influencing how they're doing Trine 3. And I don't know if they were doing these two concurrently or if one was released before the other one, but in either case, there's definitely some shared DNA. So insofar as Trine 3, the puzzles pretty much don't exist. It's pretty much a platformer action game that has a few things that might be sort of kind of like a puzzle, maybe. And by that, I mean, like, you have to figure out how to, hold this thing over here and this one over there to open the door. And it's not like, a complicated puzzle or anything. So my statements about it pretty much, I think, probably make it seem a lot less good than it is. By comparison to Trine 2, it's not as well polished or fully realized, but it's fun to play. And it's good when it's not glitching. Sometimes they can actually kind of be fun because, like, your character will be like jittering, holding onto this thing, and you're just like, okay, that's pretty funny. Or like some dead body will just like start doing a dance or something, and you're like,
yeah, like those kind of glitches are good and fun. I'd give me more of the purely cosmetic glitches. But it's like if you're if the wizard is trying to hold up a box and then it starts spinning for no reason and somebody's standing on top of it and it flings them.
They are cosmetic glitches that we have had so far. We have not had any functional glitches. Like I said, it hasn't been the kind of thing that would stop us from playing the game or anything. I do think that Pontius the Knight feels more like an action hero in this game. Okay. He has his sword and his shield, and he can glide with his shield the way that he can in Trine 2, but he also has a forward charge and a shield bash. And when he jumps, he can slam himself down like a thwomp and crush things or bounce them. And they took away his hammer, though, so he doesn't have the hammer that he has in the prior incarnations of the game.
But they did. Pontius was cast pretty dopey.
It's funny because like he pops out with some really intelligent things that he says out of nowhere, left field, and then like he goes back to being Pontius after that in this game. But like, yeah, he actually feels more like an action hero, though. So I enjoy that aspect of it. Amadeus's planks were taken away. So the hammer got taken away. The planks from Amadeus got taken away. And the boxes are now no longer something that you draw and that can be all different kinds of sizes. They are a uniform size and they automatically appear above him. But he can quickly make them without having to draw them. And he can smash them onto enemies, kind of like how Pontius can be like a thwomp block. Yeah. Amadeus can use his boxes as a thwomp block and smash them down with a lot of force. which gives him some combat efficacy, which he didn't really have before. Because before, all he could do was trap guys in a box, and that was all he could do was that, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. The powers of magic at your fingertips, and that's all you can do to people. That's got to be infuriating.
I know. So, yeah. So there's those two, and then Zoya is pretty much utilitarian. She's pretty useless in combat, which is ironic because she has a bow and arrows. But she can grab and drag objects with her grappling hook and tie one object to another. And that is pretty much her only function anymore because her bow has assigned trajectories to it. And so you can't just shoot it any which way and have the arrow fly at full force. It won't fly, at whatever force of how long you've held the button. It just kind of goes in this little sad arc. Just like if there's not like a specific target that it's supposed to be hitting at the time, it will just kind of like not do anything.
The Amblin arrow.
Yeah. So Amadeus and Pontius are now the fighters, and she can grab onto walls and bounce off of them a little bit higher, but that's about the only other skill she has. And she's only basically slightly useful, mostly in terms of traversal stuff. So, they nerfed her because she used to be like one of the most useful characters, but like the balance of the characters doesn't seem nearly what it was in Trine 1 and 2. In Trine 1 and 2, it felt like, each one had their strong and weak points, and that's how they were able to, interplay with each other and make things work. But in this one, there's very little, of the map that Zoya needs to do anything other than be traversal, Yeah. So it's kind of disappointing in that way, but it's still really a lot of fun to play. It still feels like a Trine game. But it's also apparently on the shorter side because Dave and I are pretty much to the end of that one too. I want to say we're probably about 2/3 of the way through that one too. We've been trying to finish that and 9 Parchments at about the same time. So any questions about Trine 3?
No. I mean, it's good to hear a more detailed analysis of it, specifically because everything that I had before was like, oh yeah, this is the loser Trine.
Yeah, this is the bad one. Yeah. I mean, it's still a whole lot of fun. As much as everything I'm saying is telling you all the bad things and pointing out the differences, but that's just because Trine 2 is such a good game that it's really hard,
right?
To do anything but compare it. So.
Also, co-op rounds up, so
yeah,
that's very fair.
Yeah, for sure. So, I don't know if I have time to talk about another one. I've been talking for a while, Cole.
That's okay. We'll have you on again here soon.
Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
I think that'll be good. Do you mind if I go? Because I've got one for you, Ben.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I saw you playing it over the week.
You stalker.
Oh jeez. So I have been playing. I played a little bit of Half-Life Alyx.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So I have an Oculus Quest, and I've got that plugged into my PC through like a link cable kind of thing. And that lets me do room scale VR stuff. In my office. Kind of just like launching Steam as an app within it. It's not actually, it's a really inelegant process to get it up, but once you're in it, it works. And it's pretty cool. I would like to play more of it because I've only done like the first 2 chapters. So I'll just kind of give the rundown and then explain the way some of it works. So this takes place 5 years before the events of Half-Life 2, like the assault on the Citadel and stuff like that. You're playing as Alyx, who is the kind of the co-protagonist of Half-Life 2. And the episodes and stuff, and her dad, Eli Vance, has been captured by the Combine, so you have to go about rescuing him. This is a first-person VR game. You have the motion controllers, and you see Alex's hands in front of you. and you go about exploring parts of City 17 in order to progress and go forward. This is probably the most intricate VR game that I've played. You know, it opens up with, you know, kind of a fun little playground, like you're in Alyx's little lab, and there's a window that you can, you know, pick up a dry erase marker. I wrote hello world in cursive after stopping myself from just drawing a dick, because that would have been fun, but I wouldn't have been proud of myself. No,
you're growing up, Cole.
Yeah. But it has a few things like that, and it's
I got a question first.
Okay,
does her dad have all 4 limbs?
Yes.
Okay, so they're doing like a snake eater situation,
right? They're doing. I think they're going to explain how he lost that one leg. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that'll be a sweet VR moment, I imagine.
Probably, yeah. Just you like holding on to the stump so he doesn't bleed out. Yeah.
No, I just want them to like constantly be setting him up to lose it, and then he never actually loses it.
Yeah.
Of course, hey, Alex, just juggling these chainsaws.
Yeah, no, and then it just turns out that like a week before Half-Life 2, he got tetanus. Like, God, I got scraped by a nail, and like the Combine isn't that great about vaccinations, so you know, yeah.
That's my headcanon. It's my head crab cannon.
Yeah. They have those. I mean, it's like more of like a head crab rocket launcher, but but it's funny how closely it, you know, the structure of it so far mirrors like a Half-Life game, you know, because it starts out in like a non-combat kind of thing, you know, and you're walking through this area, kind of, you know, getting the world building. You're seeing the combine occupation and stuff like that, and then there's the inciting incident, and then somebody in a lab like gives you the instructions of what you have to do. Like it broadly matches those those beats that every Half-Life story kind of tends to hit, you know. Mechanically, it's really interesting. So it's, you know, room scale, so you can walk around, you know, within a limited area. The way that they handle motion is really interesting to me. Because again, this is more complex than a lot of other stuff, you know, because this is an action game. Like it matters where you are and like what time, you know, like, you know, because there's bullets flying and stuff. But what it does is, you know, you can walk around within the limited area. And even their little warp, it kind of keeps in mind like what the path there would be. So like, you know, if you are trying to get around like a little waist-high barrier or whatever, you know, you can't just point to the other side of the barrier and get over it. Like you've got to like either, you know, navigate around it by like doing the little teleport points to get over, or like when you get near it, it activates like a contextual kind of option to like spend time getting over it, like, you know, charging up your move to, you know, to surmount that obstacle, and then you'll go up and over. Same thing with like ladders and stuff like that. So it works pathfinding into the navigation in a way that kind of allays some of my fears. I was worried that they're going to make this less action based than a regular Half-Life. And yeah, it's like it doesn't emphasize combat as much, especially early on as you're kind of like learning the ropes. It's more kind of about exploration and manipulating objects. But you do get your gun and you do get your gravity gloves relatively early on.
Ooh,
I want to talk about these gravity gloves, you guys, because this is some of the most satisfying telekinesis I've had in a game.
And you've played Control recently.
Yeah, it's a good 14 months for satisfying telekinesis. And obviously this gets an edge because like you're pointing at a thing and then pressing the button and yanking it toward yourself. It doesn't automatically go to your hand. You impart the momentum to it. It flies at you and you've got to catch it.
This sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first time that happened, that had to be fun.
It's
Did
really
you George
neat.
Michael it?
No, and I'm usually, so here's the thing. I'm bad at catching. That surprising nobody, I'm bad at catching. But the thing that makes me afraid of catching is I'm afraid of the ball. Like, it's going to hit me. And even though I know intellectually, like, it's just a baseball, you know, whatever, man, you get over it. If it hits you, it hits you. in VR, when there's no weight to anything, like I'm immediately like, boom, I'm Roger Clemens. I don't know, somebody, a famous catch man. But no, it's like, so like that's how you bring stuff to you, and throwing stuff, it can do damage to things, and that's how you solve puzzles. Like you have pickups that you can get. It really rewards like poking around behind shelves, or like within debris, or looking in garbage cans, just like exploring the VR world, all of the little props and stuff that you can get a hold of. So
have you encountered a Silent Hill 2-esque puzzle where you need to reach your entire arm in a hole?
Not yet. I imagine that's happening. I imagine that will happen. So combat, I've not run into a whole terrible lot of it yet, because I'm still relatively early on. The thing that they do initially, like the first enemy that you find, aside from just like zombie bodies who are laying around, they're barnacles. So those are like the big fleshy things with that send their tongue, like their filament tongues down to grab you.
Yeah.
Jala, you'll be happy to know I picked up you'll be unhappy to know I picked up a bottle of bleach and threw it at one of the filaments. It pulled it up, and then it didn't die. Like, it didn't break it. So
I'm very upset about this thing, because that was seriously like when I was playing the game, I'm like, it needs to die when it eats the bleach. I'm trying to feed it bleach so it will die.
Yeah. No. It just but I mean, it's neat in VR because again, these have kind of always been physics puzzle kind of enemies, but like going and grabbing a thing and then just kind of like gingerly throwing it so it will hit the filament in front of you at the right way. It's a fun recontextualization of this thing that's pretty rote otherwise in the series.
What happens if you run into it?
So this is different, actually. It doesn't pull you up. What it does is it strangles you, so you only have a limited amount of time to shoot it before it dies. And then that brings up the gun. So far I only have the pistol. The way the pistol works is really neat. So it's not just something that you point and shoot and then like press a button to reload and it happens automatically. No, in order to reload, so you empty the clip, what have you, and like you've got to like aim down the sights, if you're not just going to do like a blind fire, like rattle some stuff off. So it runs out of bullets. You have to press the button to eject the clip. All right. And then you reach over your shoulder to grab a new clip, so you've got your gun in one hand and then you reach with the other hand, grab the clip, you jam the clip in, and then you have to pull the slide to like chamber the first round.
Nice.
And so like
just feel like a badass all the time then.
I mean, kind of, but also it's like it's more than you usually think about. So like I need to like get to a place so I can like consciously go through these steps to reload this gun. And what happened with me, like my gun, I was walking around with my gun empty, I wasn't thinking about it. I walked into a barnacle. I'm strangling, okay, and you only have a certain amount of time. And under that duress, as like my screen is getting all like gray or whatever, I'm like having to reach back and jam it in and like fire, like click 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 click. Oh, nothing. Oh wait, I have to rack it, and then like just barely had enough time to shoot it, but to shoot it so it would like release me. Like that's cool. I don't know, like as dorky as it is, like that they add extra steps in to reload a virtual reality gun. It's neat. It recontextualizes the action, for you, because
question.
Yes.
Can you just shoot the barnacle's tongue part off without killing the barnacle?
I didn't try. I didn't. So I didn't. Well, I have not killed any that I haven't had to. Is the thing. I only shot and killed the one that I needed to, because all the rest you can just pick up crap in the environment, throw it, and then as it's reeling that up, you can move past it.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't tried that.
Like ships passing in the night.
Yep. Just yeah. So the puzzles are neat and cool, at least so far. In terms of like this, they're more about navigation than anything. So like you just figuring out what you need to move in order to get from, one place to the other, or like, yeah, it's hard for me to come up with like examples of it, because it is all very much just kind of in the hands, yeah, it's real cool. I'm looking forward to getting into more firefights.
Have you noticed, I have a question about like the controls with like, because I know they like with the index you can use more like finger control type stuff, or like it's more responsive to your finger movement. Does that come up at all in the game, or? Yeah,
so with the Oculus touch controllers, it's a little bit less granular than the finger control that you have on the index, from what I understand. But like it can tell when your finger is, you know, pointed out. So like for interacting with interfaces inside the game, you know, like for pressing an elevator button or whatever, like that's enough to, you know, you have the level of fine, you know, motor control to at least accomplish that without just like taking your hand and just kind of like bashing it against something,
fist bumping the elevator.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to require more fine motor control later on, but I've not, you know, at least early on, as they're walking me through kind of the basics of what the game is going to expect of you, I've not necessarily hit like a real, I've not hit a real limitation with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It feels like that is mostly for the memes.
Yeah, I can see that too. I'm not going to make a video of it or anything, but it's good. I would like to play more of it. And my understanding is it's a really substantial game. You know, it's like a full length Half-Life game, which, you know, you kind of can only be in VR for a little bit. Yeah, it's not a game you can sit down and play for 2 hours. So you're, you know, going to be playing it in shorter bursts, but I've been, it's been neat, and it's cool to be in City 17. It looks gorgeous. Like the team that made it, like they took some stuff that was not necessarily otherwise really defined in the world and made it real defined. So like when you go up to a like one of the wall like health recharger kind of things, you know, in Half-Life 2, you would walk up to it and then, you know, make beeping noises and like a little cylinder would move or whatever. And this one, the way that it works is like you take your left hand and you put it on a little panel, and then like all of these spindly little like needles and stuff come out and they start like working on the left hand, doing like injections in you. And that cylinder that moves in is actually crushing a little grub and like juicing it out. And that's what's being used to heal you. And there's there's other stuff where they're used like where they really did like cool stuff by like, you know, showing that the Combine is just willing to use living matter in order to power their stuff. So like there are other machines that just have like alien grubs and whatever worked into it as like part of the power element. And I don't know if that's something that Valve just had decided not to do before, or if that is something that, you know, Campo Santo came in and said like, yeah, that'd actually be really cool. And we have the fidelity now to do it. So let's make this upsetting like it is, you know? Yeah. But yeah, just tossing, I just had a huge amount of fun. This is a sad sentence. I had a huge amount of fun playing catch with myself. But in VR,
your virtual self.
Yeah. But you know, by using these gravity gloves, it's neat.
It's like that scene from The Great Escape. Just he's got a VR mask on.
Yep. Does anybody else have any questions about Half-Life Alyx?
Could you give all the spoilers now?
No.
I don't have anything. I don't have, you know, spoilers. Again, I've only played like an hour and a half of it. I've done like the first 2 chapters. So, yeah.
So, is it worth the plunge? Should I'm trying to debate whether or not to use the VR system that you're using, or if I should wait indefinitely because I don't want to pay a lot of money for option. Or
yeah, so the Oculus Quest is really hard to get a hold of now in quarantine times. Like it was even hard to get a hold of, like, because it was a really hot Christmas item. I've really enjoyed mine. I don't know that I don't know that it's necessarily worth the, you know, $400 for one game. You know, that's kind of up to the individual. I was just more, you know, more curious about VR in general after having enjoyed my time with the PSVR and kind of wanting something that was less tied to an individual system. So I think that, it would be good to look and see if there's other stuff that you would like to do in VR. Otherwise, if it's just for one game, you'd be paying $400 plus tax plus the link cable to play one game. And again, it is unclear if that will be worth it to any individual person.
So what I'm hearing is I need to come to your place, get you drunk, and then ask to borrow your VR.
No, you don't ask. You just kind of take it.
Yeah, you just kind of take it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
I'm borrowing this, not can I borrow this?
Like, if you were ever in a position to come over to the house, you could try it. Like, you could see, like, hey, does this work or not? Or I could have you try other stuff in VR and see if, like, oh yeah, this would actually be cool. I don't know if I would be cool with you taking my headset. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, that is Half-Life Alyx, at least so far. I'm gonna do more of it. So,
all right,
cool. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I've been playing a fair amount of new stuff, mostly powered by cloud game streaming services.
Okay.
Which is interesting. So if you remember last week, David and I had talked about playing The Division 2 together. And I reinstalled it on my upgraded computer and just still wasn't super happy with the way it was running. And that sent me down the rabbit hole of, like, is there any other way to play this? Specifically, like Google Stadia. Can I get it on there? And that led me to Stadia and to GeForce Now, which is NVIDIA's kind of Stadia service. Turns out you have to rebuy the game and to play it on Stadia.
Wow.
But with GeForce, yeah, I know. With GeForce Now, you can just keep going on the copy that you have. So since I owned a copy, I could play it for free on GeForce Now.
Okay.
GeForce Now is free to use. If you don't have their premium version, you just have to wait in a queue to get assigned to a rig.
Oh, it's like a free file sharing service plan.
Yeah, exactly. And then, once an hour you kind of have to re-up, but that wasn't too disruptive. And I'm pleased to say it worked really, really well. So David and I gamed together. And the lag was not noticeable, especially kind of when you're in the thick of the action. You kind of, if it is there, you adjust to it very quickly. And The Division 2 is a breezy enough game that it didn't really, feel like I was missing shots that I should have made or anything like that. It also helps that I'm using the big fuck off LMG for my weapon. That is 100 rounds, and you just hold down the trigger until the room is empty.
Large machine gun, like an M60 or whatever.
Yeah, I think technically it's light machine gun.
Oh, okay.
But I think that is because machine gun is in the reference of, like, what they mount on Humvees.
Yeah. Being a tail gunner or something, yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, I had a ton of fun playing that on GeForce Now. And I think, the pro service is like $5 a month. You get, free games with it, and you don't have to wait in the queue to get on, and you don't have those time limits. So I see the value there. I've got so many games that I own, directly to play that it's probably not worth it at this time. But,
yeah.
That was a cool experience. Not a ton else to say on The Division 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to play co-op. But the GeForce Now kind of platform was a good experience for me overall.
Nice.
Then I also, went through Stadia. And shout out to Dan Jackson, who had I think it was like 3 months of their pro membership for free, just a code that I got off of him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a lot of fun. It led me to Steamworld Quest, Hand of Gilgamech.
Oh, dang.
And
yeah,
Ben, you've played
Nice.
this, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when you talked about it, it was kind of almost too simplistic compared to Slay the Spire. Like, why wouldn't you just play Slay the Spider?
I think I stand by that.
Yeah. Well, no, and I can see that. It is also... Oh, go ahead.
It's still fun. Yeah, it's not bad, but...
It's fun, and it's like the perfect level for playing with your kids.
Yeah.
So this is when I started up with Luke and Milo, and I've been playing it, but they've had a lot of fun watching. And kind of the level of thinking behind the cards is such that they can follow. And they recognize different cards, and so they've got their favorite characters and they've got their favorite cards, and I'll read off each effect as it happens. And that's been a lot of fun. So for anyone who doesn't remember, SteamWorld Quest, subtitle The Hand of Gilgamech, get it?
I do.
They're all robots in this unit. This is another, by the way, universe for a game, like a very small series of games that has a very big universe attached to it. Like this is another, because it's SteamWorld Dig 2, then SteamWorld Quest, and
SteamWorld Heist.
I think,
yes,
other games as well. I wonder if those two have any communication with each other, like the people who make Trine and the people who make the SteamWorld games, because it just they've got that kind of same small studio with lots of loving care into their particular universe ethos. But anyway, you play a couple of main characters. Each character gets to have 8 cards in your deck. And you manage those cards. They do all the standard card game things: deal damage, heal, have effects. But if you play 3 of a character's cards in a single turn, you get like a bonus ability that automatically plays that is related to whatever weapon the given character is holding. And that's a really cool system, because it's like, all right, how much do I want to hold on to this powerful card that I know I want to work towards versus how much do I want to just kind of dig for getting my combo. They also have, I guess, combo cards. So you're not thinking, working towards your full set effect. They also have combo cards where if you played someone else's color before it has some additional impact. And this actually, those two systems are completely at odds with each other. All the same color or all, different colors with stacking effects. Yeah. And so I've largely ignored the combo effect cards in favor of just always trying to get the bonus 4th card played. Because generally those seem kind of higher impact, more powerful. And I haven't had a ton of trouble doing it.
I think there's ways later on in the game where you can try and do both, because you can like increase the amount of like mana you have per round. But
interesting. Well, in 2, I don't know if it's 3 in a row, because I have come across some cards. Typically, in a typical turn, you can only play 3 cards, and all 3 of those have to be the same color to get the bonus effect. I have come across cards that allow you to play an additional card that turn. And so if the limit is, if it's like 3 cards in a row gets you the bonus effect versus all the cards you play that turn being the same color, I could see that starting to work in really interesting ways. But they've, on that note, they've used the introduction of new characters to kind of ramp you into those difficulties. So I've gotten, you start with just 2, then you get a 3rd, and your party can have 3. I just got a 4th, and you have to choose who you swap in and out. And that 4th character seems a lot more complex than the other ones, kind of ramping up the complexity.
Which characters are they that you have?
So there's Armely, Copernica, and are the original 2. Galio joins them shortly after. Armely is like the physical damage dealer. Copernica is the mage. Galio is the I don't know what he is. Yeah, he's the frog. The classic frog class. He kind of has a mix of physical and magical damage. He can play the healer role, but then it's almost like, how do you want to build his deck? He could play a hardcore healer role. He could play a tank role, like there's cards to provoke and then give him immunities and buff defenses. But it's this weird, like, is he a buffer? Is he a tank? Is he a healer? Or there's a lot of, damage dealing cards in his deck as well. So, what do you make him? And then there is Auric is the fourth character, that the gimmick for that class, is that, they put on different masks and different cards swap out what mask they're wearing. And depending on the mask, there's a different passive effect. So it's almost kind of combos within their class, which, hey, works because I still get to play all my same color cards. It's been a ton of fun. Like I said, Luke and Milo have really enjoyed watching it, and so especially as we're spending a lot of time at home together, it's good to have those in your back pocket. And that's run through Stadia, so really, really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
How has the Stadia service kind of worked for you? Because I've literally heard nobody else who's touched it.
Yeah, right. Having now used it, I get the appeal. of I can literally go in a browser on any device I have, or, even the app, the Stadia app, and launch games from there. And that makes a ton of sense if you're not stuck at home with your main PC all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's it's like, okay, I see the value in this all of a sudden. This is also a time where I completely don't need the value that this provides.
Right.
I'm
in my house with all my stuff.
Exactly. The other thing, and this relates also to GeForce Now, is the whole angle of, hey, I want to be able to play games that I couldn't normally play, or get graphics qualities that I couldn't normally get on my rig. Now, that's a weird one, because it seems like there's, and Dan and I were talking about this, there's a lot of, like, the library that you almost want them to build up and be able to experiment with, because it's an all-access games as a service thing, is that long tail of indie games. But that long tail of indie games is also the set of games that I'm most likely to be able to just play on my machine.
Right, right.
And you almost need to have all the major AAA, graphics intensive titles on this, which they have some of them, but it's a far cry from having all of them.
Do they have Far Cry?
I have to check. I doubt it. The Stadia's catalog is pretty tiny. But that's what they need. If they can get there, then I could totally see it being worth, like, hey, I'm not going to pay, $1,500 for a gaming PC. I'm going to shell out monthly for Stadia and play it on my dinky little rig that I've got now.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a ton of sense. And even then, if you have to buy the game to play it, it's not like a Netflix service model. I think that could still have value. There's just not enough of the big names on there yet for it.
It seems like Stadia needs to buy like Cyan Studios, because they need stuff with really high graphics, but then doesn't really need a lot of fast-paced input,
Yeah. So yeah, that's SteamWorld Quest, Hand of Gilgamech, and that is Stadia and the other streaming services, which, like I said, really cool, but kind of the quarantine has put a damper on my enjoyment of them.
Yeah.
The other game is one that I think I'm enjoying a lot more than I normally would because of the quarantine.
Okay.
This is a PS Plus game, Dirt Rally 2. So it's a rally racing game.
Okay.
This is by Codemasters. They have a long history of, very simmy rally racing games. And this is right in line with that ethos. And because of work from home or shelter in place, whatever, and the fact that I don't have a commute anymore, I have not listened to podcasts at all. Since this whole thing
you've given
down.
yourself a virtual commute.
I have. And the thing is, when I first started playing Dirt Rally 2, I really didn't like it. And I think I was coming off of the Trackmania vibe, right? Which is flat out crazy driving.
Lots of precision.
Somewhat technical, but not realistic. This is both realistic and technical. And maybe it's just I'm bad at rally racing, but as I'm whipping around these dirt roads, I look down at the speedometer and I'm going 35 miles an hour, barely able to keep on the road. It's like I could do that in real life. I don't need to do that in a video game.
Yeah.
And you get these amazingly powerful cars, like these souped up cars in the game, which is big and exciting, and then you have to drive them so far within the limit of what they can do just to stay on the road. And everything is pulling against itself in this game, in terms of the fantasy that I went in for is being able to rip around a dirt track and go crazy and super fast, and the experience has wound up being most like when I had to drive in a blizzard, where you're just going super slow and super concerned, going, oh god, okay, slow down for this turn. And it's just that fantasy of the game is not something I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. The more simmy aspect. But as you called out, I realized it's kind of this virtual commute, and it feels very therapeutic to hop into this game and drive whatever rally track with the sound either off or down low, and just put on whatever podcast I want. And so literally my 11 to 12 p.m. or 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., I guess, most nights, is some form of driving around Dirt Rally 2 and listening to my podcast.
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. I freaking love it.
Might I recommend American Truck Simulator?
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. Phil Holmes recommended that to me as well as some other games. So, yeah, But what that has done, I think I've got some Stockholm syndrome. What that's done is it's made me stick with Dirt Rally 2 long enough that I'm starting to get a little bit of competency, and my times are getting a little bit faster. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I'm starting to find the joy in this game that I completely would have bounced off of otherwise.
Nice.
And yeah, so I'm far from competitive or actually feeling like I'm able to drive, but it is not the exercise and frustration that it was at the beginning. Yeah. And it's a wonderful vehicle, for me to listen to my podcast on.
Not bad.
Boy, oh boy.
shit, man. That's probably not even in like the top. I don't know. That wouldn't even breath like the top 1,000 weird things that people are doing.
Oh no, yeah.
No.
You get through however you can.
Yep.
It's going to be weird when we all start going back with one another again. Everyone will have changed, developed weird hobbies.
develop some tendencies. I was have to make a joke about that. Like, no, like that's just how I am normally. It's fine. you guys don't have to worry about it. That's the Cole Ross guarantee.
No, it's when they're like, okay, you can all go and hang out with other people all the time now, and the majority of the world goes, no, what we were doing was what I kind of wanted. I realized
it's like when they throw open the doors of the Springfield retirement home and everybody cheers, and it says, they go back to their rooms.
Yeah.
Oh man. God.
Yeah. So that's me.
Dirt Rally 2.
Dirt Rally 2.
Yeah.
It's free on PS Plus. I'm getting my fun out of it. Come listen to some podcasts with me.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, but real talk says we can talk about the game versus just the way I'm using it. Mm-hmm. There is no introduction. There is no tutorializing. The menu system is completely inscrutable. I wound up like jumping directly into like the hardcore career. Your choices matter. If you do damage to your car, you have to like pay to fix it mode.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Completely unintentionally off the bat. Couldn't figure out how to get out of it. Like,
yeah.
Because it's a very again, someone who's into rally racing, I could see completely geeking out, but at least by number of options on the car tuning menu, it is a very, very accurate race sim.
This is a long running series. This goes back at least a couple of console generations, I think.
Yeah. So it was I think it had a different name before. Like Codemasters has done a lot of stuff all in this ethos.
Yeah, it's like it's all like a lot of it is just dirt. Is the name of
it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so you'd think in all that time they'd have like a menu system, but this is oriented towards the person that has been playing that series or those games since the first one.
Yeah.
And hey, whatever. Don't be apologetic about it. But I think I definitely would have bounced off of it were it not for this weird symbiosis with podcasts.
Yeah. If you didn't have another reason to play it aside from what the game was showing you.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. Ben, how about you?
Just as a brief aside, I want like an ultra sim game like this where it's like you wreck your car, you have to deal with the financial implications of it, then you start have to like role playing your marital relationship, and then you have to
Please go home.
Oh man.
All right. I only have one game. It's the same game that I've talked about for a while now. It's Death Stranding. It's a long game, I guess, is what I'm finding out. I don't know how long. I think I'm maybe about halfway through.
Whenever you say I think I'm about halfway through, you're one level from the end, Ben.
Oh, really? Is that true?
It's been the case in the past.
We'll have to talk to the little archivist.
I've done that. Remember me and Mario?
Yes. Yeah.
So the big advancement that's happened in the past week is I figured out how to use these. You eventually unlock these things called zip lines, where the idea is if you place one and then you like walk somewhere else and place another, if they're within 300 meters of one another, you can zip between them like really quickly. And it basically is what makes like the mountain area traversable. Cause like driving or like running up a hill is pretty difficult and it's really hard to get packages in between people. But once you have zip lines laid out, it makes it a lot of fun because you can get around the map very, very quickly. You're basically only limited by stock at that point where you can only carry what shipments on your back. You can't carry like a truckload of stuff. So as long as like the shipment's at that size, then it's fine. Feels weird talking about mechanics of this game. I found out some other things. There was like one shipment where I had to like cut weight to try and make it like it's like an over encumbered thing. So it's the same thing as Fallout. If you're beyond a certain threshold, then he just like moves very, very slowly and like hardly at all.
Impractical. Yeah, you can't get away from the threats. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like 0.2 pounds over what the over encumbered thing is. So I had a choice of I could either give up my shoes or I could give up my speed harness, which makes me run faster. And so I opted for giving up my shoes and found out that his feet start bleeding if you're walking like that, and you start losing blood, which is his hit points. Yeah, I know. It's like I'm glad I found out that mechanic because it was like super cool that it was there. And it's like
you then does that make you then like BT proof? Because like the ground you're walking on, you're using your bodily fluids to fight them, right?
Oh, yeah. So typically you can shoot them with your blood. You can have a gun that's hooked up to a tourniquet to your arm and shoots like blood bullets at them.
So now you can literally curb stomp them.
I guess. Yeah.
You need to see if this like. If anything, this game would have that as a mechanic.
That is an interesting idea, yeah, because one of the ways that you can interact with them is, a giant black pool will form underneath you and people try and, like, raise up and grab you. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if you form, like, anti-footprints in the in the black goo.
I would believe that it's in there. Everything else is God knows.
Yeah, and it's definitely, it's proving to be a Kojima game beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like everything, there's like multiple options with how you can configure it, but there's no seemingly reason why there's that there, other than they just have interesting, complicated mechanics for things.
Yeah, no.
The story's progressed a little bit. The characters that I've met, like a couple of them have been fleshed out more. It's a little bit like it's not exactly like subtle or anything. It's like there's a 5-minute monologue from one character saying their tragic backstory, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what your motivation is. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Take that or leave that. The traversal part's cooler. Has been more fun, I guess, in the past week. I think. Well, so I'm almost to the West Coast, so I think once I get to that point, then I think I'll be close to the end. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't built all the roads that I can build. I'm like limited on resources now, so yeah. I have like maybe 75% of the roads that I can build. Roads in the mountains are pretty cool. They do a lot of like weird like spirals and stuff to navigate like through hills,
like switchback kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's cool. But yeah, like really the zip lines make it a lot more fun because you move so quick with them, you know? So anyway, yeah, still a weird game, still okay, but I wish it would maybe move a little bit more efficiently at this point.
Yeah, especially since you've kind of put a lot into it. It sounds kind of like a pacing problem.
Yeah, and it's to the point. Well, I think part of the issue is too is the mechanics aren't really advancing in any meaningful ways anymore.
Right.
Where it's like I know how to deliver a package now, so now it's just a whole bunch of deliveries, back to back to back.
Well, and I know you said you spent a ton of time just kind of derping around with this game, so like
it could be my fault. Yeah.
Well, not to assign blame, but like
to invoke Cole Ross.
Yeah. But like, do you think if you had kind of focused on the main path, that you would have been at least learning that stuff on the job, and that would have stretched a little more for you?
Yeah, I might have gotten through it more efficiently that way. I wouldn't have been able to build all the road connections that I built, so getting around in certain areas might be more difficult, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it seems like the game nudges you. Well, I don't know. So there's 5 different. I think I mentioned this last time. You have like this star rating system where there's like 5 different things that you can be measured on, and it's like package quality when you deliver it, time it takes to deliver, and like cargo size and stuff like that.
And at least speaking of American Truck Simulator, yeah.
Well,
I guess we already made that joke, or Phil did. Shit.
It's all good. But they seem to nudge you in the direction of like you want to build roads eventually because they'll give you these orders that are like impossible to even with a giant like truck that I have right now that can't hold some of the orders. Like some of the orders are like, I don't know, 600 kilograms or something like that. But I've seen trucks that have giant hatchbacks on them So I'm assuming that at some point you can get those types of things to ship these like large orders around. But the other thing that's weird too is, so like, I think you max out at a certain point on those when you get this like blue color on your star. It's like 5 different points on the star, and each of them like level up. So they're different colors based on like how high you've leveled them. But at this point, I think I've had 4 out of 5 are blue, and it's just like time is the only one that's like way lower. Like, anyway, I don't know. I'll put in a few more hours, and hopefully I'll finish the game, and hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah.
There's the most recent like scene that I played was very Kojima-esque. There were cool moments where they give you complete freedom, but they're throwing you into this like very novel situation. They're like, here, you got 5 minutes to do this. And so you're trying to figure out stuff to do, you know? So like stuff like that's definitely a breath of fresh air. So I'll be curious to see how much more of things like that there are before the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a weird medium of I have 90 hours in this thing. I hope it's good.
Oh man. So like you talking about, okay, I took my shoes off and all of a sudden I was bleeding and taking damage. Like that kind of mechanical fiddliness is probably the wrong word, because like that implies a degree of like precision.
Detail.
Yeah. Like that kind of attention to detail, or like weird little systemic collisions of things you would not imagine would be, worked into the systems. Like that is as much of a Kojima hallmark as the long cutscenes and stuff. So it's just you just kind of only ever hear the cutscenes talked about when he comes up.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite details too is if you stack your packages really high or whatever, and you're walking in a room with a low ceiling, it's possible to bump the top package off, and you have to like go pick it up on the floor.
Oh, and that hurts.
Get out of there.
Does that hurt the package quality because you roughed it up?
I don't think it's not as noticeable there. If it does, if you like fall over and stuff, all your packages will be like hurt, quote unquote. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
I don't have any answers.
Multiplayer. Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Jala, what is the question that you ask the nice people?
I have a story about it.
Okay.
so today's question is brought to you by Easter holidays.
Okay.
This is because originally I was going to ask if you could resurrect any particular character. It doesn't matter if it's a villain or a hero or NPC or what character would you resurrect? But then I was like, a lot of people, most of them don't stay dead. So then I switched the question to if you could permanently kill any video game character so they will stop reappearing in the game or the series, what character would you smite?
So I thought you were going in a different direction with that. I thought that you were inspired by everybody complaining about that rabbit in Animal Crossing or whatever. Apparently there was an Easter event that everybody was like, get this fucking rabbit off my island.
Oh yeah, I did not know that level of salt could exist in the Animal Crossing world.
Yeah, people take that real personally. It messed with their fish harvest or whatever. I don't know. Whatever the fuck that game is.
Don't mess with their turnips. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are killing off characters for good here, and why don't we pick up? I will get us started with Patrick, who says, my semi-joking answer: right-handed Link, so left-handed Link can reign supreme. He was the only lefty game character I had to look up to growing up. The honest answer was Chris Redfield. RE7 was better before Big Buff Dude showed up.
Huh.
See, the thing is, other people complain that in RE7, Chris was not buff enough. That's
because he was a giant boulder of a thing who punched boulders in other games.
He had thighs for arms in other games.
Yeah. So it's like he went from the roids. He just dropped the roids is what happened.
Yeah. A lot of loose skin. Let's see here. Dennis, what does Dan say?
Dan says Batman. Ooh, bold choice. I know he's not a villain, but he's had a long enough run. In today's times, his Batmobile has emissions that are endangering the environment. He hasn't done a proper workplace health and safety check for all the gadgets and traps in his lair, and being the owner of a giant corporate company which does not have adequate working conditions for his employees. I vote for Joker.
Yep. Yes, Joker. Joker for America. Yeah. Ben, what does Greg say?
Trying to think if that would be better or worse. Greg says, this is more of a mute request than kill, but Baby Mario and Super Mario World 2 needs to shut the F up. Is that FL up? I don't know. Ruins what otherwise is a great game. Listening to it cry all the time. Mm-hmm. If it has to be removing a character, Navi from Zelda Ocarina of Time needs to not even be born. Wow.
Yeah. Navi's rough. Navi is rough stuff.
But who will you listen to?
Who will you hey? Let's see here. Jala, what does OMG Moose say?
OMG Moose says, Mario! He's had decades to save the Mushroom Kingdom, and all he seems to have done is gotten closer to his supposed enemy, Bowser. I fail to see how palling around with your enemy, playing sports and board games, is supposed to help the common toad. Time for him to step down permanently and let the true powerhouse reign supreme, Luigi.
Yes, I also agree with Luigi. Luigi needs to step forward. Yeah.
Yeah, the palliness is super weird. Like I can't quite make up my mind.
I think Mario's a little bit like Joe Biden. I think that it's kind of like he has to say he's against the Republicans, but really he just wants to get a lot of the same stuff done as them, you know. And also any other establishment Democrat. But Mario's basically Biden.
I want to vote for Biden over Trump, but I'd also vote for Mario or the Joker over Trump. So
yes, yeah.
I thought you were going to go with the angle of he's got dementia. He just doesn't even know. Yeah.
Oh man.
So.
Yeah. So let's see here. Ollie says, Tom Nook. I see you, Nook. I know what you are at. I'm not going to dance to your tune. I'm coming for you, and you're gonna know fear. Every time you hear a noise, I want you to think, is this the time? But it won't be. No, not until you least expect it. You money-grubbing raccoon bastard. Yeah. Maybe Salt is right at home in Animal Crossing. I think so. I think the salt's right under the surface is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how like they got rid of Mr. Rossetti just because he made a couple of kids cry, but they keep Tom Nook around even though he's a fucking landlord. Oh, this says a lot about society. Let's see, Dennis, what does Brandon say?
Brandon says, this may be controversial, but Kratos. Oh, hey, this is actually mine. I'll come back around to it. Cool. But I haven't gotten around to playing Dad of Boy. Hey,
sorry. That's the first time I've seen that. Dad of Boy is good.
Pretty good. But I'm sure they did an excellent job humanizing him. But I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. You had 3 games of angsty, sexist, overly edgy horseshit, and you can't unring that bell. I like a redemptive arc as much as the next guy, but maybe more even. But fuck that guy. I'm with you on this one. And honestly, it's 3 main games, and then there's a whole bunch of drossy,
PSP games, not even PS Vita. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. Let's see, Ben. What does Chris say?
Chris said everything at the casino in New Vegas that constantly says "ring-a-ding-ding, baby."
Yep, I can see that. I forget what gang that is, but yeah, any of those weird 50s guys.
Benny, right?
Maybe. I just recently realized that Benny was voiced by Matthew Perry.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Weird.
Yeah. Great voice acting.
I think that's good. He does a good job at it, but just, yeah. Like, Bethesda is real good with, like, low-key, oh, yeah, that's a celebrity they've got. Okay. I think it's the facial animation that makes individual characters unremarkable, even if their voice acting is good.
It made me like Matthew Perry a whole lot more, because it's like, oh, you have infinite money from friends, and you chose to do this. That's pretty sweet.
Let's see here. Lindsay says, Pickle from Borderlands, the pre-sequel. I hate that character, and as soon as you think you won't see or hear him anymore, he gives you a gun that speaks in his voice. You can't skip him either. It's a main quest. So yeah, I would pull the trigger on Pickle and his stupid gun if I could. Would you shoot Pickle with the Pickle gun?
It's like the cannon problem where you have to be like high enough or whatever so the bullet comes around.
Yep. Well, I don't know. So what is Pickle, Dennis, as Borderlandsman?
I don't recognize this because it's from one of the in-between games from 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Or games in between 2 and 3. I will say that the whole talking gun thing is kind of a running gag in the Borderlands games. So I think most of them are misses. Like there's one that literally just makes gun sounds, another like gibbers. It sounds like with Pickle, and then with Borderlands 3, you can get a talking gun with Handsome Jack's voice from Borderlands 2. And I actually really liked that. Now I'm starting to get to the point where I'm rehearing lines, but to just between firefights have moments of commentary from Handsome Jack is very comforting. Playing Borderlands 3. I do not recognize Pickle. I bounced off the pre-sequel, and at least in terms of not having to deal with Pickle, it sounds like it's a good thing I did.
Okay, Davis Pickle. Davis Pickle is a young, self-described fingersmith who lives in the Outlands Canyon area of Elpis. I don't know what a fingersmith is.
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't sound...
I pulled it up, and I'm like, I'm going to
don't pull the finger.
No.
What are we?
Just pulled it up. Pulled up the article.
But if you do Control F on his page, the finger only pops up once. I don't know. Weird. Huh.
Well, Pickle speaks in a thick Cockney accent and makes frequent use of Cockney rhyming slang.
Ugh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
However, both he and his sister use it incorrectly, saying the fully rhyming term rather than omitting the second component, followed by the original term that the rhyme should replace.
Ugh, that's tedious.
Sounds really annoying.
Yeah. No, that sucks. Yeah. I agree with this. Let's see here. No, this was you who read that, Jala? Pickle?
No, you read
that. Oh, I have a memory.
I didn't do it.
Yeah. I didn't do
Cole's
this.
turning into Mario.
Yeah, he is.
Let's see here. Dennis,
Cole
what
for
does...
president.
No, I don't want to be a president. Dennis, what does Jonathan say?
He says, Aerith from Final Fantasy. Oh, whoops, too soon?
Does the spoiler clock restart now? 23 years later?
My day since I've cried clock restarts.
Oh, geez, that's
Although
good.
she does come back in Kingdom Hearts anyway, so nobody ever truly dies. Disney.
She does come back in mods.
Yeah, that too.
That's a solid reference, Jala.
Yeah, that's. Let's see here. Ben, what does Ruki say?
Ruki says, I'm not sure if this counts because it's not technically one character, but every silent protagonist in any game with communication between any characters ever. They're all basically the same character. It never works for me. Usually actively makes the experience worse. Just make your main character a character. The only exception would be when there's a diegetic reason for the silence, like in Minerva's Den.
Yes. That could also work. Yeah. And then Jala ran to side here. What does Jason say?
Jason says, oh, this is too easy. Navi, no argument needed. The answer is the argument.
Yeah. I'm going to stick in the realm of Nintendo here. Donkey Kong. Fuck that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Some strong
You'll be
feelings
hearing from
about
Peter soon.
Can you qualify that? Why do you hate Donkey Kong?
I still like I don't like the Donkey Kong Country series, or just the games, the cartoon, anything really.
None of it.
Yeah.
I don't like any of it. I hate it.
Was Jumpman the first game you played with Donkey Kong in it? Is this why?
No. I just think he's dopey and annoying. I don't know. And I believe that I've just revealed.
Like a stupid child.
Now, would you want to? Are you all Kong, anti any Kong? Like, did he go with him if you could, or it's just Donkey Kong?
So there's just one, is the way the question asked it, is which character, and I'm not going to be like those listeners that broke the rules, because I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard. Like I'm not going to give them a hard time about kind of not answering the question right. That's not my place to do, to like really like center on that. You know, like it wouldn't be great.
I mean, you wouldn't name them specifically either, right?
No, I would. Okay. I definitely wouldn't name names, and I would definitely dissolve the entire Kong family in acid. But I figure if I take down Donkey Kong as the moral center of it, they would all get demoralized and just kind of they would scatter.
If you got Donkey Kong early enough, there wouldn't even be a Diddy Kong.
Exactly. I don't even. But they're not father and son. There is a Donkey Kong Jr., but if they're Diddy is just it's just his ward. It's just his ward.
Oh, a ward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He definitely kidnapped this child, right? With that.
This child. Yet another reason why we don't like Donkey Kong on this podcast.
I'm fine with Donkey Kong.
He's a child thief. Yeah.
I'll be a Donkey Kong apologist.
Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, so like I said, my answer would definitely be Kratos, but that is also with the huge qualifier that I have not played Dad of Boy, as I will always refer to it now. And I've heard great things. I am almost like I'm going to play that game eventually. I am a little bit worried that they're going to try to tie it into the first couple of games too tightly. Like I would be totally fine if the God of War reboot pretended that the earlier God of War games never existed. I don't think that's quite the case, but on the slider from completely intertwined to not at all, I would love it to be as far towards not at all as possible.
Like in practice, they're two separate games. Like I think there's maybe one scene where they briefly refer to him being like really old or something like that, but
really old and really mad.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben?
All right, so I have a weirder answer for this one. Halo is kind of like the Star Wars movies franchise, where it's like they don't have enough ideas, so like every end game they have to go back to like, oh, there's a new Halo, and we got to kill it, or something like that. It's like the Death Star in Star Wars. So I think I would permanently kill Halo after the first game, so they would have to like come up with other ideas.
You would kill the concept of the Halo planetoids that blow up?
Yes.
Okay, you would kill the planet.
I would. No. I would keep the planet dead after they killed it in the first game.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So okay. So like no other Halos can come back. That was the plan, right? For when that one Halo blew up, then it would blow up all the other ones and kill all life to keep the flood contained.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah. The Halos were put in place to contain the flood.
So Ben, you are advocating for Halo Lander.
No, I thought the Halos were like weapons. I don't know. I haven't played Halo in a while. I feel bad if I'm trying to kill humanity, but also it's virtual humanity, so maybe I don't feel as bad.
Yeah. How about you, Jala?
My answer is pretty easy. Dante from DMC.
So not mainline Devil May Cry.
Not mainline Devil May Cry, just DMC. I cannot stand him. Remember how much I hated him upon instant sight? I saw the opening to the game and I was just like already pissed. That was sure a thing. I think I streamed about an hour of it, and that was about as much as I could stand, and I was just mad the entire time I was playing it. So, yeah, I would kill him.
Gotcha.
I would have somebody
Ben
else
gets to be a Kong apologist. I get to be a Dante apologist.
for the Dante from DMC?
I don't think they hit the mark with him, but in video games, the sequel always tends, well, in any media, the sequel always tends to be the strongest. And I feel like if the DMC reboot ever got a sequel, they would get him to a really good place. That is as strongly as I will speak out in favor.
You cannot convince me about an imaginary sequel to this game.
I just want more.
It is kind of dirty pool. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Cool. Well, thanks for putting that question up, Jala.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for participating. If you would like to throw in, you can go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoon.
Sorry. I realized Gwillem had a response on Slack that I ported over to Facebook.
Okay.
Do we want to do it or do we want to skip it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even think about that until the last second. Gwillem said, I guess mine would be Herc from the Far Cry series. He doesn't even have a consistent persona or role. The only constants are that he'll always be the most irritating NPC, and he'll always be the least funny NPC. Other than that, anything goes. And he's usually a pre-order bonus, or some form of extra content. It's completely inexplicable. He's definitely intended as a mascot character, but there's no premise to him. Basically just, there will be a character called Herc, and he will have this face. It's a running joke without a joke.
Yeah. If he has no reason to be there, then take him away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Monday afternoons.
The End Boss.
Now it's time for the End Boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to us. Jala, you have a story here about Resident Evil, so I will throw it to you.
Yeah, and you were all like, you swooped my story, and I'm like, but I let you have the last Resident Evil story.
I wasn't mad.
Anyway, so Resident Evil 4 Remake is in the works and expected release date sometime in 2022 because Resident Evil 8 is supposed to come out 2021. So that is what we've got going on there. Development is being led by M2, the new studio founded by former Platinum Games head Tatsuya Minami, which also boasts many former Platinum and Capcom employees, but Capcom's internal teams and other external studios are likely going to lend significant development resources as they've been doing with the other games. The remake has the blessing of the original game director, who declined leading the project himself because of his commitment to Bethesda's Ghostwire Tokyo. I don't know what that is, but it's some other game that he's working on. But he is providing informal advice on the direction. And M2 also contributed to the development of Resident Evil 3 Remake. Also, Resident Evil 4's original lead coder was the game director for Resident Evil 3 Remake via his company Redworks. So, I mean, there's a lot of, familiar faces, I suppose we should say. Yeah. And also, that they're going to have a lot of stuff going in, like being pushed into, a lot of effort being pushed into this because Resi 4 was Capcom's highest rated game of all time. So... that's a big deal. So, yeah. I was literally just seeing some people say, I want them to make a Resident Evil 4 remake, blah, 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 on, different places. And, they are. Don't worry about it.
You're welcome.
I'm happy they're happy. I am infinitely disappointed that they're not doing Code Veronica next.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you were talking about that previously, that you were like, I hope they do Code Veronica. But
look at it this way. The remake of 4 is guaranteed to be a success, which means they will go back to that well for other games.
Yeah.
Will it get around to?
Well, financial success, but probably a disappointment as well, right?
I don't know. So, I mean, I just, as I said this a little bit about the RE3, like that the existence of an RE2 remake made an RE3 remake kind of not necessary. I was wrong about that. I feel like RE4, with the exception of some pacing and length problems, is actually still perfect. I don't know what you could do to update it that would not compromise that in some way. Like if they go the direction that RE2 and RE3 did, and they kind of make it a little bit less campy, a little bit more down to earth, that will take away a lot of the charm that is really integral. You have sassy Leon, you have Salazar, you have Sadler, and all the back and forth stuff all of that is good. I don't see having a gigantic Sadler bot that chases you. There's just a bunch of really cool, charming, over the top scenario stuff that Leon gets into that I would desperately want to see.
It's also a really long game, so it seems like the remakes have been a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing that I was talking to Dave about was how in Resident Evil 4, to go back to Resident Evil 4 now after playing, some of the more action-oriented titles is kind of rough for me because, you have to stop and, stand still when you're shooting, and there's other things like that. There's not melee the way that there is in some of the later games that, have more quality of life stuff, but all of that, it being this kind of weird step between being survival horror the way that the old ones were and then the more action style of game is actually what lends itself to being as charming as it is, because those limitations of your control scheme and things like that actually add to this tension that you've got, because you can't just run and gun at the same time, for example. I mean, like that, how would that change, RE4 if you could just run around and shoot stuff versus like having to stay still? I mean, very different feeling.
Yeah.
So.
RE4 is it's designed to be slow, like the enemy is kind of match you.
Yeah, it's like combat's like a puzzle. Like, where should I shoot this person and then kick them on the ground?
Yeah. So an RE4 remake, I can understand where they're going at, like in terms of sales. It's a very popular game. It seems like like the predictable decision. I feel like a Code Veronica remake is more necessary and could actually still be really good. So who knows? There might be they might have a Code Veronica remake in them still somewhere down the line. It was just there were two options that were kind of being set up, and I was more in favor of the Code Veronica one. But such is life. At this point, I will just be excited for RE8. So yeah. I'll do mine real quick here. Something that is less disappointing because Jala swooped mine. Not that I'm angry about it. This is barely even, it's not really even related to video games, but it's just something that I saw online that made me happy. Like, I saw it last night. So how many of you here have played the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater?
I have.
You have.
My entry point was 2.
Your entry point was 2. Okay.
Yeah.
In Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, there's like one music track that everybody like that's just kind of the standout. It's a ska song called Superman by a band called Goldfinger. And just it's a good song. I don't listen to ska music. I've never heard anything else by this band. Whatever. But it's an amazing song that I really associate with like that game and that series and like the fun times that I spent playing with it. And so here, given what's happening, currently with quarantine stuff, you have a lot of bands that are doing like quarantine shows or whatever. Well, this band that I didn't even realize was still together, they did like a live quarantine version of Superman, that they just kind of put out as part of this big series. And I watched it and I just had this huge wave of nostalgia of this very good, this is a very good, enjoyable song that brought me back to a particular time and place. So, like, licensed
soundtracks, they work sometimes.
They do, yeah. Especially, I mean, even 20 years later, for God's sake. So, like, I've watched this like 4 times today, and just gotten the same, the same, warm fuzzy every time. Like, the production on it's really good. They're not just like doing it over Zoom. I think that it's like all of them performing their track to a click. Individually, and then it's just edited and layered together in a really cool kinetic way. But this rules. So if you just do a search, just do Goldfinger Superman Quarantine, you'll see this. I've also like shared it on Twitter and stuff like that, or you can check the notes. But yeah, this has really brightened my day. So if you also have fond memories of the first Tony Hawk Pro Skater, fire this up. It will make you feel better.
And then you can go back and actually play the first game and ruin those fond memories.
It's still fun. I've looted it up fairly recently. It still holds up.
Really?
Good. Yeah.
Even with all the improvements of like the second one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're not going to get like big combos or whatever, but like I like those stages.
Yeah.
Good stages. School, cool. Man. School. Yeah. Let's see, Dennis, what you got?
Yeah, Ben, I have a way for you to play Half-Life Alyx.
Okay, I'm listening.
Someone has already put together a mod for the game that allows you to play it on a regular computer. And it just basically fixes the camera and fixes the hands out in front of the camera. And then you just very awkwardly kind of move around the game world with your hands mummy-like out in front of you.
You totally walk. Yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah. So this is apparently like a very rough mod right now, where it's you can kind of see the clipping at the edge of the screen, and apparently it takes several different steps to get it set up and running. But I imagine this will be improved on and iterated on, to where it is a very playable version of the game in the near future. So, you were lamenting it's probably not worth getting a VR system just for this game. Hey, now you don't have to.
Yeah. if you look at the gameplay video of it, it looks super dorky.
Super dorky.
Yeah, but hope springs eternal. They may get it somewhat worked out to where it's will at least get you the content, if not the experience. Let's say.
If Valve's pacing continues, I mean, what else are people going to have to work on?
I'm just excited by the idea of it being a game that's like half Half-Life 2 and then half hand simulator. You have to, like, do these puzzles.
I'm very curious how the gravity gloves would work in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
interesting.
I need to watch like a playthrough, or pull up a playthrough that I can
speed run.
Yeah, just like jump around in on it. Yeah, but hey, whatever works, if it works.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then Ben, what's going on up in the sky?
Yeah, just a tiny announcement. There's 2 new developments with the Microsoft Flight Simulator, which looks kind of cool. Is they're going to have multiplayer in it, which I was not expecting, but okay, cool. So apparently it's going to work similar to the game like Elite Dangerous, where it's like you can quote unquote wing up with a friend, and you can like be in the same server essentially, so that you can be flying in the same world. The other interesting thing about it too is it says that they're going to pull in like real-time data of like planes that are in the air, since all that stuff's tracked, and use that in part of the game as well. So like planes flying in the game matching real life.
Oh, cool!
Sweet.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm actually so it's funny because you said, "Oh, I didn't think they would do that." In my head, like when you posted this, I was like, "That's weird. They haven't done that already."
Oh, really?
It seems like something that would have been worked in, but this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben, I never took you for a flight simulator boy.
I'm not, but the game looks really cool. Like as a program, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I'm not a flight simulator kind of guy, but it seems like it'd be real cool to get one of those extremely elaborate joysticks with like a throttle and foot pedals and stuff.
Yeah.
Basically,
that's just because gear is fun.
Gear is fun, and I'm chasing the high of the few times that I've ever touched a Steel Battalion controller. So,
and hey, you can put on a podcast while you're flying.
Yep. Oh, yeah, this is cool. I need to look at like this game. Looks beautiful too. Like it, neat. Well, how do you all feel about bundling it up?
I feel buttons.
Cool.
The credits.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Level. We really appreciate having you here. By this point, you know the usual spiel. I don't have any additional information to add other than you can leave us a rating or review in iTunes. You can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, kicks a couple of bucks a month. You can come back next week, tell your friends, all those kind of things. And then all the usual quarantine stuff. Take care of yourself, take care of each other. Am I forgetting anything important?
Let us know if you need a pizza.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Put up the pizza signal if you need a pizza. Cool. So I've been Kole Ross. You can watch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I've been Dennis Furia. I am on Twitch at Deck of Wonders.
I'm Jala in all the places. You can find me there doing whatever.
And I've been Ben Merkel at Merkleby on Twitch.
And stick around for some titles. Okay. Who has a title?
I have some.
Okay.
7 Degrees of How It's Your Fault.
Okay.
Dad Stranding.
Okay.
A Famous Catchman.
All right.
The Kole Ross Guarantee.
Oh, geez.
And finally, Days Since I Cried Counter Reset.
I have that stylized. I have that as Days Since I've Cried clock.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The other one that I have is I have no answers. Which is what Ben said when I said I have no questions. Yeah. How about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I've got Dad Stranding as well.
Okay.
I have head crab cannon.
All right.
And then thighs for arms.
Thighs. I wrote that as thights, which is fun. Thighs for arms. Ben?
Yeah, so I tried to remember these halfway through the episode, so the wording's different, but 7 degrees of It's My Fault.
Okay.
Last time I've cried clock, and the one that I had that note said is Kong apologist.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
So days since I've cried clock seems to win by votes. Does anybody have a strong feeling for or against?
I'm okay with that.
Cool.
That's good.
Seems good.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm gonna go to bed.
I'm gonna eat food.
No.
Like Kirby, I will eat everything.
Man, you're making me want to play a Kirby game. I've got Switch
Kirby
Online.
is good.
Kirby's
gosh.
great. I love Kirby.
Download the demo for Kirby Star Allies. You will love it.
Cool.
I'm going to go probably drive around a dirt track listening to a podcast.
Nice.
Do that thing.
I was going to say, on a lighter note, Washington only had 82 cases of coronavirus yesterday, which is like the lowest it's been in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, hot damn. Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh. We'll get
Let's
through
go,
this.
humanity. We got this.
Yeah. All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good
First
night.
week,
See you guys around.
Bye. Greta.